Right. So flip over to Joshua. And while you're getting there, what are you praying for? Tell me what you're praying for. I know that Della's praying for some sleep. Demons get out of her sleep.
That's right.
But everybody else, what are you praying for?
One thing at a time.
One thing.
Joshua, what?
Joshua chapter 1 is where we're going to go.
Oh, okay.
I was about to ask, which book is in, like, which book has Joshua in it? Yes, I'm a Bible scholar.
Yeah, that book.
Yeah.
But what are you praying for? I should phrase it like this. What are you praying for that's bigger than you? You know, because we can say, God, help me to get up on time this morning. You know, and that's like, that's not really, what are you praying for that's bigger than you?
Yes, it's like, what should I be praying for? That's bigger than at this moment, because 2020 was hard. So I felt like I was praying for so many big things, and a lot of them that came true or didn't.
Right.
So a break. I was like, nah, yeah, we need a break. So I need to, this is a good study for me.
Okay. Anybody else? What are you praying for that's bigger than you?
Me, I've just been praying to be able to face all the stuff that's just been buried in my heart.
Yeah.
That I keep burying for years and year after year. So and I mean, it's in process and I'm not running, so that's good.
Yay.
But I'm just praying for God to just make things clear, and again for wisdom and grace and truth in the journey, because you know I don't want to be like some kind of monster. You know. So
you're no monster. Okay, very good. Very good.
Surprise.
You're surprised. Seretti, what are you praying for that's bigger than you?
Essentially to do a shift, as we've been talking about devotion, in realizing I have a type of devotion for my work and for and some of the reasons behind that are like security or kind of the have to, right? But I do it kind of without fail, you know, it's automatic, it's and I want to shift that to be, it sounds weird to say kind of the same, but if I can do it there, I can shift it to be for God and not, you know, as we've been talking about commitment versus devotion, and kind of, and that means being real with how I truly feel with God, and or what I'm going through, how I really feel, you know, not just the kind of what the trees, you know. Yeah, I'm good, guy. You did this, and I'm good. Yeah, you know, instead of that, just being real, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a shift, though. It definitely is a shift. That now that I see, I do that. So.
Right. Okay. Very good. Why do you think it's important that we are praying for something larger than ourselves? I mean, it sounds like a kind of an obvious question, but when you stop and think about it, you go, what am I praying for? Why do you think it's important that we're praying for something larger than ourselves?
I think it's important because it increases like my faith when I'm praying for something bigger. When I have prayed for something bigger than myself, it's caused me to, like, it's almost like a constant reminder that God is greater, God is greater, God is greater. So trust. So it just helps me to stay off myself and really see how God is working.
Right. Yeah. So often we can find ourselves praying for things that don't necessarily engage God. We mention God, but does it really engage God? You know, it would be like your child coming up to you and saying, Mom, can I have applause today? And you go, what? Yeah. I mean, that doesn't really take much from you, you know? You're like, well, of course, that's easy. But I wonder sometimes if we do that with God, we're like, God, can you, I don't know, I'm even trying to think of simple examples, but can you just help me to be nice today? Or can you, it's like some things are so small that God is saying, challenge me. Ask me for something that really you need to engage me. Because often we're asking God for things that really, God, whether you deliver it or not, I can still take care of it myself. But what if we're asking God for something in which it is so much larger than us? We know without you, God, I can't do this. What's the difference in those two prayers?
Well, humility. And
Humility.
Boldness.
Yeah.
and it's a faith that he could do bigger things. I mean, it's faith of who he is, how great and amazing and powerful he is.
Right. All right. We're going to look at Joshua. Tell me who Joshua was or is. It's lights too bright. Driving me crazy. Who is Joshua?
Son of Nun.
I know. I thought of son of Nun.
Aid to Moses. Aid to Moses.
He was son of Nun. He was aid to Moses. I heard. What else was that?
He was chosen by, like, he was seriously chosen by God to be the aid to Moses.
He was chosen by God. All right. Let me ask you this way. First of all, who was Moses?
Moses was chosen by God from like conception, and then set aside and raised. He was a Jewish Levi kid whose mother was like, no, we're not letting you die according to the edict that was sent out. And he was adopted by Pharaoh, so he was raised both as a Hebrew but in Egyptian customs.
Right.
And God called him again.
Yeah.
And set him up to become the leader of the Israelite people as he led them out of captivity in Egypt.
Right. Okay. That's a beautiful Kids Kingdom answer. That's exactly who Moses was. But bottom line, Moses was the man, right? He was the man. Now, imagine if you're the person to follow the man. That was Joshua. So here you got Moses, in which everybody's like, woo, Moses. And then up comes Joshua. How do you think the people received him initially? In comparison.
They probably didn't respect him as much initially.
Probably didn't respect him as much. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, they probably wanted proof that he was, God chose him to be the leader, like, who are you?
Remember, he had to prove himself. Eyes. So him and Achan had to prove themselves.
Right.
So this constant proving of himself
right.
That actually worthy of leading.
Yeah.
Because he was young to begin with. So there's that. So like, did God anoint you really?
Yeah, he had a lot stacked against him coming up against Moses. So here he's about to face something that's bigger than him. This wasn't just, okay, God, I need you to say you love me today. This was, God, if you don't show up, I can't do this. This was something bigger than him. So let me get one of you, Seretti, if you don't mind. Can you read 1 through 11 for us? Joshua chapter 1, 1 through 11.
After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give to them, to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep the book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So Joshua ordered the officers of the people, go through the camp and tell the people, get your provisions ready. 3 days from now, you will cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land the Lord God is giving you for your own.
Okay. All right. So here is the entrance of Joshua. Moses goes up to the mountain and he doesn't come back. So all these people are used to Moses going up to the mountain, meeting with God, coming back and delivering something powerful. So they're expecting the same. He goes up to the mountain and he never comes back. So God comes back and says, all right, guys, Moses is dead. What happened? How do you think the people felt?
Concerned, afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Shocked and unsafe.
Yeah. Yes. This was something that shook up the camp. It's not in this version, but it talks about how God allowed the people to mourn for Moses. They cried for Moses for a month. And then finally God said, okay, we got to move on. This was devastating for them, for God to come down and says, all right, my servant Moses is now dead. And he just turns his face immediately and goes, Joshua, you're the man.
Mm.
What if that was you? What would you be feeling?
Scared.
Right? You're like, I'm the what, God?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yes, you're scared, you're overwhelmed. You're like, God, maybe you made a mistake on this one. Can you go and wake Moses back up and bring him back to us? But he says something very powerful. In verse number 15, no one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. In this part here, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Why is that huge?
Well, because I think Joshua had seen how God had been with Moses. So, and being able to know that the same way that God was with the most amazing leader is the same way God is going to be with me. It's so comforting to help him to trust.
Right.
That he's not going out on his own accord. He's going out in the Spirit of God.
Yes. Yes. God, go ahead, whoever that was. G.
Yeah, I think also the fact that they have put so much faith into Moses that God was saying, yes, Moses is awesome, but I am who you need to go, with at all times, and I will be with you at all times. So yes, you lost Moses, but you have me.
Yeah. Yes. God is the great stabilizer. He's the great stabilizer. And for these guys, many of them, Moses was the stabilizer. So God removed what kept them stable and shook them up on purpose. Because when they finally ran out of Moses, they ran into God. Yeah. And that's why I asked the question, what are you praying for that's bigger than you? Because when you finally run out of you, then you run into God. When you're finally in a situation in which I can't fix this, I can't control this, I can't do this, that's when we tend to fall on our knees and genuinely go, God, I can't do this. Help me. So we always have to look at ourselves and go, what am I praying for? What am I asking for? Am I asking for things that simply glorify me when they come to be? Oh, I did this, or I at least played a big part in this happening. Or are we in a place where there is no way I would be sitting here if God had not shown up? That's where Joshua is standing. He knows I can't do this. I saw Moses. I know the relationship Moses had with God. I saw that God was with him every step of the way. That's not me. Until God turned to him and says, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. He is now the great stabilizer. What all has changed in their lives in this moment, the lives of these people? They lost their leader. Anything else?
They're directionless in a way.
Yeah.
Moses knew the desert like the back of his hand because he grew up there. So now Moses' word was, oh yeah, remember God told Moses and Aaron that I'm going to speak to you, you're going to be like God to Aaron. So it's like this had taken up kind of like the the entrance to God, and he's gone. Right.
So they've lost their leadership, they've lost their focus. They're in a different territory than they've been in before, because Moses he led them up to the promised land. Now they're about to enter into something they've never been there before. So all of this, even the good things, can be desettling for us. Give me an example of something good in your life that took place or is taking place that still made you a little, oh, I'm not so sure about this, a little wobbly. Because see, we think of bad things as being destabilizing, but good things can be as well. Brenda, looks like you have something.
I recently, my roommate started dating and then came and said, I'm moving out. And I'm all, okay. What do I do? But the coolest thing is that a month leading up to that, the Holy Spirit had said something is coming up. And so I could sense, so I started praying that God, I know you've always provided for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to, like right now, this moment scares me, but
Right.
that you're going to move for me and I'll see it,
Yes.
And obviously she leaves, right? She gives me notice and already God is like, I have a roommate for you. So a friend moved in within a week of her leaving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I have to advertise. So that is God beyond.
Awesome. Great example. Who else? Something good that happens, but it also can be very unsettling.
I think when I had to have my knee surgery, and it took me out of work for 6 months, and I was very depressed and whatnot. And that was when I found the church. Just when I started studying the Bible. So definitely felt like something that was like a huge change and a lot of uncertainty. Sorry, I'm leaving a game if it's loud.
That's okay.
But then, after that, after Reggie and I got married, I didn't work for 2 years, and I'm just now starting to work again, and lots of stuff is coming. So it felt like very just uncertain, but it's been such a good thing because this is the job that I've wanted. There's so much flexibility, and it allows me to be with Reggie. So definitely something that was a change, but it's good.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we have to find God, the absolute, in an environment that has lots of variables. That's what life is. We have all these variables that's happening all day, every day. We have no control over it. Most of us try to control the variables. What do I mean by that? And how does that serve us?
like my sister who's dying, the variables is that her kidney can start working again. So they put her on dialysis, but she's dying. Her heart's bad. There's so many other factors. But in my heart, I want the kidney to start working again, even though it was a transplant, but it won't work again. And I don't think it's going to, but I want it to. With all my heart, I want it to.
Right.
I don't want to lose her.
Right. Thank you, Margie. And I know I'm praying about that situation. That's us trying to control the variables. And it's like sand slipping through our fingers. And yet we're grasping, trying to hold on to it. I want to make this work. I got to make this work. I got to make this work. And God is saying, you're grabbing onto the wrong things. God is the anchor. He's the stabilizer. Moses has come, but Moses is now gone. He's saying, but I'm still here. The important part wasn't the leader. The important part was the presence of God. So that means your leaders can come and go. And yes, our hearts may cry with that, but it's the presence of God that keeps us stable in an unstable environment. Are we grasping for the variables instead of grasping for the one thing that is solid? You see what I mean? Is that making sense? Little nods? Okay. But he says, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. What does that mean? How does that make you feel?
Warm and secure.
Warm and secure. Good. Good.
Sure-footed. Like, I can't fall. I mean, well, yeah.
Good. Okay. Watson?
For me, confident and safe.
Yeah. What if we actually took that into whatever that big prayer is right now? God, I'm trying to deal with my heart, some stuff that's coming out of my heart. Help me to deal with it, as I should. He's going, I got this, Watson. I got it. Because I will never leave you or forsake you. That should make you feel confident. Even though you're still afraid, oh, this might bring up some stuff I don't want. He's going, I got you, Watson. I got you. In your dreams, Della, when you're fighting that spiritual, you're like, oh my God, it's so freaky. He said, I got you. I said, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you or forsake you. Again, you see how it becomes the stabilizer?
Mm-hmm.
I think too many of us as Christians, we have an unstable faith, which is kind of a oxymoron. What do I mean by an unstable faith? What does that look like?
Based on circumstances and, feel good. I don't know, like, the people I'm with or the people that are around me, when they're gone, it causes a deep sadness in me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that God is the ultimate say so. I know that He takes care of us. He heals us. He does so many things for us. But when it comes to losing a loved one, it's really hard. It makes us very unstable, because I know that God is going to take care of it, because He's still the ultimate decision as to whether they live or die. Doesn't make it any easier. Doesn't make it any easier. It makes us grab at those straws to want to hope that I want a Lazarus miracle. That's what I really want. In my heart of hearts, that's what I want.
Right.
But it may not happen.
Right. Yeah. And if I can go here, I have to tread lightly. I absolutely feel that and understand that. As Christians, we have to fight to understand it and to accept it as a reality of life. And I this, like I said, this is treading really gingerly. So I understand, but we've got to look at God. You are the great reward for us. Let me back up a little bit. Where were these people headed?
To the promised land, the land
Promised
that
land.
God promised them.
They were headed to the promised land. Now, the promised land is that place. You know, it's where everything's going to be wonderful and awesome. And it's that place. And everybody has a promised land in our mind. You know, as Christians, we have what's our promised land?
Heaven.
Or so
Heaven.
we say. Yes,
Or
yes,
so we
and
say.
yes. But what I always talk about, we look at the shiny object in the room and we get enamored with the shiny object. So here they were headed to the shiny object, which was the promised land, but yet the actual gift was already there with them. What do I mean by that? What was the gift?
That God
The
will be
presence
with
of
them
God.
wherever they
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say the presence of God with them.
The presence of God with us is the gift. But if we're not careful, we can hang our coats, hang our hats on the promised land and miss the fact that the gift is already with us. The gift is that stabilizer that keeps us from flailing all over the place, you know, and it will guide us into the promised land. But the promised land isn't the gift itself. But I think we have lost sight of what the gift actually is, even as Christians. You know, we see it as people who don't know God and they go, yeah, they've lost sight. But I think we have as well.
Yeah.
Because if we really grasp that God is my great gift, and he says, as I was with Moses, I will be with you. I will never leave you and forsake you. All those feelings that we mentioned in the beginning, when I said, how does that make you feel? Warm and secure, confident, all of those things we said should walk with us, should carry us through every day of our Christian lives. Does that sum up your walk with God? In most cases, it does at some times, and it doesn't in others. And it's the others I want us to look at and go, what is it that what variable am I grasping for in those moments when it does not stabilize me? Because he is the same, right? Does God change?
No.
No.
Did he change between Moses and Joshua?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Everything else around them was changing. God remained the same. So we have to look at it and go, the same is true then in our lives. God remains the same. Everything else around you may change. You may lose your job. You may lose your loved one. You may find that you're dealing with a sickness. You may find all these things could be going on in our lives. And those are variables, painful, hard to accept, but variables. And God is saying, are you grabbing onto the variables, or are you grabbing onto the presence of God? It has to be one or the other. And go ahead, Della.
It's just such a spiritual battle, though, because the enemy knows what will rattle your faith. You know, like a year and a half ago, my stepmother died, and she was the healthiest of all the folks, you know, the wise folks in our family.
Right.
And it just rattled my faith.
Yeah.
And I had to do some really deep dive study and get very clear about God, get very clear about why am I on this earth, and the fact that we will all leave. How do we leave? How did she leave? You know, and you know, just really do some deep spiritual vision work instead of flesh work, because my flesh misses her so much.
Right.
I'll wrap up in her blanket, or I'll wear one of her shirts or something, you know, but just to get that spiritual vision and to be able to give that spiritual mindset or outlook that God
Right.
has about death. To be able to get out of my own grief, to give hope to my nieces and my nephews, you know.
Yeah.
It takes work. It takes spiritual, it takes some, you know, me getting in my Bible and really getting a God-focused view of death, because I've lost 9 people in my family, my mother, and, you know, just some really, I've had to do some deep work in terms of not allowing the enemy to use that grief
Right.
to keep me in the flesh, you know.
Right. Yeah. Just because it's hard does not mean it isn't God at work. And I think we have to be careful. You know that you loved well and you loved deeply when you feel the pain of losing someone. But we have to look at, that's a lot of passing away, 9 people. So I have to look at that and go, God, what have I learned along the way? With all 9, have I gone closer to you? Or have I pulled further away from you? Because just because it's hard doesn't mean it's from Satan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because God can be an incredible sparring partner. What's a sparring partner? I'll explain that in a bit.
It's someone who makes you, who challenges you, who pushes you further, who makes you go beyond what you think you can do. Because that's the whole test, is to get beyond where you are, to go further, to get better at what you're doing. So if you don't have someone that challenges you, what's the point of doing it?
Yeah. Any great boxer will tell you they're only as great as their sparring partner. Any great boxer. A lot of the sparring partners go on to be champions themselves. They're that good. But they realize, I am not helping Muhammad Ali, or I'm not helping Mike Tyson if I'm not really going after him. Because it's showing him where he's strong, but it's also showing him his weak spots. And once he can see his weak spots, he can start to develop and get better and strengthen there. God is a sparring partner. And a lot of times he'll even use what Satan throws at us to get us stronger. Our part is to stay in the battle. We can't go into the corner and just, so you got to stay in the battle. And you got to know which one you're holding. Am I grabbing onto the variables, or am I grabbing on to the presence of God? One will hold me up and keep me steady and firm. The other one will take me in all sorts of emotional loops and turns and roller coasters. We get to decide, though, which one we're going to do. Why do we tend to grab the variables usually? Not always, usually.
I think because we think we can control those. We can't control God. And I think, like, just real quick with the sparring, it's like God gives us practice to become, I believe we all want to be, what's the word to use? Brain ain't all the way awake.
That's okay. I don't know what I said, so.
Usually don't remember what I say either, but we all want to be grounded. You know what I mean? But it's the reality is, just like you say, a Mike Tyson or a Muhammad Ali, they wanted to be great, but they didn't just become great. They had to practice, and it was pain, it was sweat, it was tears, and that's what life that's going to happen to us anyway. Gives us an opportunity, one, to see where our strengths and our weaknesses are, because we can feel like, yeah, I love God with all my heart, and just like Peter, like, I'll go to death with you, and then Jesus was like, you don't deny that you even know me 3 times before the rooster crows, but we need those moments to break us so that we can grab a hold of God.
Yeah, it is.
Also,
go for it.
Variables are familiar, and so many times when I'm faced with something hard, I try to look for the familiar to try and solve the hard thing.
Yeah, that is true. Familiarity breeds contempt. Remember that saying? We do. We go after the familiar, and the familiar is what's going to kill us, you know. But you look at it. I love as it goes on further down in verse 8, it says, keep this book. He begins to tell him, because he says, be strong and courageous. He knows it's not going to be easy. That's why he keeps saying, be strong and courageous. And then he gives him some practicals behind it. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night. He's like, I know it's not going to be easy. So I'm not saying wish it and it's going to happen. I'm saying, I need you to be strong and courageous. How are you going to do that? You got to keep this book on your lips. You've got to meditate on it. When? Every day. So he is saying, get in the battle. You need to spar. You need to be working. It is not going to just come to you because you want it to come. You've got to go after it. It says, then you will be prosperous and successful. He goes on, be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. And I love this. Go down in 10. So Joshua ordered the officers of the people, go through the camp and tell the people, get your provisions ready. What is that? What does that mean? Get your provisions ready.
Pack up and get ready to go.
Yep, it's time to move.
Yeah, it's time to move. Get ready.
Yeah. Now, remember, these people are in mourning, right? And he's saying, guys, we can't stay here. I understand it hurts. I understand you're sad. I understand it's painful, but we got to move on. And that's true with 9 losses. It says, I know it hurts. I know it's painful, but I can't let you stay here. So I need you. Get your provisions ready. What are provisions?
For our usual, like our day, like modern day. What would be my provisions modern day? I don't know, get my house ready.
Get your house ready. Okay. Okay.
I don't know. For me, it with death, grief, provisions for me were get my heart in the right place, get my focus in the right place, go through the Bible and understand what death means.
Good.
And not accept the world's view of death.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's what it meant for me in terms of provisions,
Right. Wow. Thank you, Della.
And that's a hard place to be, because those people that you're preparing your heart to depart or have already departed, it leaves this hole. It leaves this hole that loved one is no longer here in my life. They're gone beyond to wherever they need to go. And to accept it, God is the ultimate authority. He created us to die. Yes, he created us to die. Yet sometimes the loss of a loved one leaves such a big hole in your heart. You wonder, can God fill this hole? Because you want him to fill it. You know he can, but it just feels like it can't be filled.
Yeah.
Right.
It can take you out, it can definitely
And it can take you out. And you keep asking God, okay, God, I know who you are. I know the depth of where you can go and what you can do. But how do I get past this? How do I grow through this? Because I want to grow through this. There's something it's something you have to grow through. And there's a lot that it takes to get to that place. But in the meantime, you're scratching and crawling every step of the way to hold on what you know is true about the incredible creator that created you, because we all were created to die.
And I think that's the provisions. I mean, I think of provisions as our food, our supplies that way, our tools that we use. So in these situations, the tools that we need for the journey is, a reliance on the knowledge and hope and trust of God is the God of all comfort. So maybe I don't understand it, or maybe there is the loss, the hole, but the God of all comfort has me. He's going to surround me with that comfort that only he can provide. The tools of the Bible and God's word, teaching us and giving us hope and strength, and the food that we need there from that, from his word. Other tools per se are our relationships that we can go to and pray together and, have someone listen or just there again to hold us or to, help with some of those needs too, to give us courage, pour courage into us, so that's what I think of when I think of the provisions.
Right. Very good. If we think about it, and there's so much to it. Remember, they're headed into the promised land. God is about to do a new thing. He says, as I was with Moses, so I am with you, but I'm about to do a new thing. So please don't hold me to what I used to do, because I'm about to take you into something else. If we think about provision with Moses, the manna literally fell from heaven at their tent, and all they had to do was just pick it up and eat it. God brought it to them. And now he's saying, get your provision. Now he's saying, I need you to start doing. I've just given, and that is what you needed at that time. But now I need you to engage. I need you to get your hands dirty. I need you to plug in, because what I'm about to do with you now is a new thing. It is a different thing. Get your provisions ready. Now, these are people, if you think about this generation, they didn't grow up cooking, right? Because God just laid the food at their feet. So they didn't have to figure out, well, how much manna does it take? And how much now they have to figure out some things they never had to figure out before. When we lose a loved one, we have to start figuring out some things we never had to figure out before. When things take a turn in a direction we didn't want it to go, let's say we had this incredible job we loved, and all of a sudden the company closed down. You're like, wait. Now I've got to figure out some things I never had to figure out before. God is saying, it's time for you to get involved. This time, just as I worked with Moses, I'm going to be working with you, but I need you working hand in hand with me. I need you to know that the presence of God is with you, even when you're having to go through something difficult, even when you're having to do something you've never done before, even when you're having to do something you don't like. I need you to know the hand of God that was with Moses is also the hand of God with me, because that is the stabilizer in an unstable environment. It is always going to be unstable. There is not a day anybody on this screen doesn't have something that rocks us just a little bit. It may not be huge. Sometimes we have something huge, like my sister is passing away. Sometimes it's a little blip, but even the little blip is enough for us to go, oh, did I leave the stove on? Oh, okay. No, I didn't. Oh, shoot, I forgot the time card. I mean, it could be little things at work, they are destabilizers in our lives. Satan is throwing tons of them in there. But it should not be such a roller coaster ride that we're falling off the ride. We may have to hold on for dear life. We might get a little nervous and have to scream and shout and, take some funny pictures from Disneyland because I'm so terrified. But it shouldn't throw us off the ride. And as Christians, I think it throws way too many of us off the ride. What happens when we get tossed off the ride?
I freak out. I freak out because it's taking me to a place that I don't necessarily want to go.
It's not, I think a lot of times we try to avoid the pain. It's not possible. And we look for easy. It's not possible. So instead of looking for easy, because there is no easy, instead of trying to avoid the pain because there is no pain, pain avoidance is cross avoidance. We are, as Christians, bound to hang on the cross as far as our lives. So there is no avoiding the pain any more than Jesus avoided the pain. So I think we have to make sure that we are, again, what am I grabbing to hold on to? The variables, the easy, the no pain, those are variables. Or am I grasping to hold on to the presence of God, the stabilizer? It is the one thing, no matter what happens, will never change. Whether he gives us 15 extra years, 15 extra minutes, it's still a variable. We praise him for it, but we grab onto him and not the things around him. All right, as we wrap up, give me some feedback. What did you get out of this night?
BJ, thank you. I feel very, very challenged, and I have a knot in my throat. So
You always have a knot in your throat, Brenda.
yes, that's when things are really like
Challenging. Challenging, isn't it? Challenging.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to sit on it and really dig deeper, because this has been it's a necessary, challenging study. Thank you.
Amen.
For me, what I walk away with is that God is faithful to his plan and his promises, but the road to get there isn't always, you know what I mean? We can focus on the destination.
Yeah.
And it's the journey that really prepares us for the destination. And so it's a reminder to me, what am I fixing my eyes on? Am I fixing my eyes on Jesus, or am I getting distracted by the variables, And I think, God gives us an opportunity to recenter, so, and that's whether it's through our own prayer time, Bible study, talking to other people, God can use all those things, to realign us. So yes, it's some good food for thought, like to continue to really chew on it.
Awesome.
I agree, Margie. Definitely keep you in my prayers, my sister. But I think tonight I definitely got out of that I am enough and God is enough.
Yes.
That no matter the storms, the demons that come, God's got me.
All right. And Saretti, anything?
I think it's neat, the perspective that Moses did have this, or the people did have this great loss of Moses. And there was all this uncertainty of what we're going to do. That's how it starts right here.
Right.
And God begins to give them direction, but you made the point of, I'm doing a new thing. And I think it really kind of hit me that that's true right here. He's doing a new thing. He's leading them a different direction. They're going to a new place. Everything's new, but he's going to be with them and hold on to, the Bible and trust him with this new place, this new, direction
Right.
Which I think is the challenge when we go through loss, or when everything gets turned upside down, you know. And so I really appreciate that, the perspective of, in this context, that they are doing this new thing, you know, and how I can relate to that in my life, you know, and the new phases or the new direction, you know, that my life goes. I appreciate that.
All right, and G.
Yeah, I was just going to
Thanks,
add very similarly, like when Reggie had his mental health spiral, I felt like my spiritual leader was really taken away, the person that helped me connect to God the very first time. And I felt like during that time, I was able to really hear God, like that it was me and him,
Right.
that he and I can do it. And now when Reggie and I are married, if he does face that again, like I won't just be left hanging dry. Like I'll be able to lead if I need to, or pick up whatever parts need to be picked up. But I think like that is my favorite part about God, is that this idea of what he tells him is like that he will be with him wherever he goes. Like that is the most sustaining thing, I think, with my relationship with God, that he is a refuge, which to me, they're the same things, that I always have somewhere to go and that he's always with me. And so I just really like this because it's pretty much my relationship with God, that in times of intense struggle when I was younger and had really hard family life, I always needed somebody. And I feel like God has got me to the point where, yes, it is nice to have other people, but it could just be me and him, and that would be enough.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, guys, even though he's saying, I'm taking you in a new direction, he says, but the answer is still the same. You know, he says, as I did with Moses, I need you to always keep this on your lips. I need you to meditate. That didn't change. And the same is true with us. If he's saying, I'm going to be taking you in some new twists and turns, but the answer is still the same. You still hold on to this just as Moses did. And we got this. And I want to end with this. I just think it's really beautiful just as he closes it out. When he says, get your provisions ready. Then he goes on and gives them a little bit of hope, a whole lot of hope. 3 days from now, says 3 days from now, you will cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land the Lord your God has given you for your own. 3 days from now. We've heard that in scripture so many times. What's happened? What happens in 3 days throughout scripture? God's got this thing about 3 days.
Resurrection, renewal, revival, redemption.
Resurrection, renewal, all of this stuff.
Redemption. Thank you.
3 days. His point is, I know it's a little scary and crazy right now. It's not going to stay that way. That's the positive to hold on to tonight. I know we talked about some heavy stuff. I know it can be scary. And when you're in it, it feels like it's never going to end. But he says, guys, in 3 days, this whole thing is going to flip upside down. Now we're going to look at it. Don't look at it in terms of 3 days or 3 days. That's not the point. The point is God is saying, I'm taking you somewhere new, and you are not going to remain feeling what you're feeling now.
Yeah.
I got you. Go ahead, Kristen.
I just said amen.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
So what
Amen.
you're passing through right now is temporal. That's the point. That which comes easy is always temporal. What you're dealing with right now is temporal, which means it too shall pass. It may not feel like it in the moment, but it is going to pass.